listeners. Welcome back to English Talk Time, the podcast where real stories help you practice real English. I'm your host, Ayla. Today's episode is a little different and a little shocking. We're going to hear the same story from two different people, told in past tenses, just like native speakers do when they tell stories. Our grammar focus is narrative tenses, especially past simple for actions and past continuous for background and longer actions. Listen carefully to how our guests use them naturally. First, look at the vocabulary, then listen. So Daniel, what's the story?
Yesterday was supposed to be a normal day, but it turned out to be something I'll never forget. In the morning, the weather was grey and a little windy. Typical English weather. I left my flat in Birmingham around 10 a.m. I was wearing my jacket because the air felt cold, even though it was already April. The streets were busy, as usual. People were walking to work, the buses were running every few minutes, and I could hear a street musician playing the guitar near the corner of High Street. I had planned to meet my friend Thomas near the Bullring shopping centre. He was already waiting for me when I arrived. He was sitting on a bench, drinking a takeaway coffee from Costa and scrolling through his phone. We greeted each other, had a quick chat, and started walking around the shops. We weren't really planning to buy anything. We were just browsing and catching up. Around 1 p.m., our stomachs started making noise, so we decided to grab some lunch. We didn't want to sit in a restaurant, so we walked down New Street and saw a small takeaway shop called Billy's Bites. I had never eaten there before, but Thomas said he had tried their food once and it was decent. The place was small and a little old-fashioned. A radio was playing in the background. I think it was BBC Radio 1, and two people were working behind the counter. One was making sandwiches and the other was taking orders. There were a few posters on the walls showing their meal deal offers. The smell of fried food and grilled chicken filled the air. While we were waiting in line, I was checking my phone, and Thomas was talking about his new flat in Moseley. He had just moved last week and was still unpacking boxes. I remember I was half listening and half scrolling through Instagram when I stepped up to order. I asked for the chicken and cheese sandwich meal deal. It came with chips and a drink. I paid, got my receipt, and moved to the side while they were preparing the food. The guy behind the counter was wearing a faded red apron and looked very tired. He was moving slowly and didn't say much. Finally, I got my sandwich. I didn't sit down. I just leaned against the window and unwrapped it right there. I was starving. I took a big bite while Thomas was still waiting for his food, but something felt wrong immediately. While I was chewing, I felt something strange in my mouth. It was hard, kind of chewy, and definitely not chicken. I stopped, frowned, and slowly pulled the sandwich apart with my hands. And there it was, a rat's tail. I froze. I was still holding the sandwich, but I didn't move. My heart started beating faster. I looked up at Thomas, who was looking at me with wide eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just showed him the sandwich. When he saw the tail, he stepped back quickly and said, "Mate, what the hell is that?" I walked straight to the counter, holding the sandwich like it was something toxic. I said very calmly, "Excuse me, can someone explain why there's a rat's tail in my sandwich?" The woman at the register stopped what she was doing. Her eyes got big and she called the manager. A short man with glasses and a blue polo shirt came out from the back. He looked at the sandwich, then at me, and I could see the color leave his face. He said, "I am so sorry. This is completely unacceptable." While he was talking, I noticed that other customers were watching us. One old lady dropped her sandwich on the table. A little boy asked loudly, "Mummy, what's a rat's tail?" The manager offered me a full refund and said they would investigate. But honestly, I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to get out of there. I threw the sandwich in the bin and left with Thomas. We walked in silence for a few minutes. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The taste, the feel, the look of that tail. Even now, it makes me feel sick. Later that evening, I tried to eat some soup at home, but I couldn't finish it. I kept seeing the sandwich in my mind. While I was trying to sleep, I was still thinking about that moment.
That's horrifying. But let's not jump to conclusions. Now, let's hear the same story from Thomas, who was standing right next to Daniel when it happened.
Yesterday was honestly one of the strangest days I've had in a long time. It started like any normal Saturday. I woke up around 9 a.m., made a quick coffee, and threw on a hoodie because the weather was cold and windy. Nothing new in Birmingham. I had plans to meet my friend Daniel in town. We hadn't seen each other in a couple of weeks, so we decided to hang out. By the time I arrived at the Bullring Shopping Center, I was already there before him, for once. I was sitting on a bench near the big glass entrance, sipping my Costa coffee and scrolling through news on my phone. Daniel arrived a few minutes later, smiling like always, and we started walking around the shops. We weren't really shopping, just talking and passing the time. Around lunchtime, we started feeling hungry. Daniel said he wanted something fast and cheap, so we walked down New Street and found a place called Billy's Bites. I had eaten there once before, not amazing, but not terrible either. The shop was small and it looked a bit old. There were posters on the walls offering meal deals, and a radio was playing some pop music in the background. I think it was Ed Sheeran. A few people were sitting by the window eating quietly. While we were standing in line, I was telling Daniel about my new flat. I had moved to Moseley last week, and I was still unpacking. He was half listening, half texting. Classic Daniel. He ordered first a chicken and cheese sandwich meal. I was still deciding what to get. I think I was looking at the menu when I heard Daniel behind me making a weird sound like a choke or a cough. I turned around and saw his face, pale, confused, and shocked. He wasn't moving. "Are you okay?" I asked. He didn't say anything. He just opened his sandwich and showed me the inside. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought maybe it was part of the meat or something stuck in the wrapper. But no. It was a rat's tail, right there, in the sandwich. I stepped back and said, "Mate, what the hell is that?" He didn't answer. He just walked to the counter, holding the sandwich like it was poison. I followed him. He showed it to the woman at the till and said, "Excuse me? Can someone explain this?" The manager came out looking confused. When he saw the sandwich, he froze for a second, then apologized over and over. He offered a refund and said they would investigate the situation. But honestly, nothing he said could fix that. The mood in the shop changed completely. Other customers were watching us. One woman left her food on the table. A little boy was asking questions. Everyone looked uncomfortable. We left right after. Daniel looked pale and quiet. He didn't say much. We walked around for a bit, but I could tell he was still thinking about it. He kept rubbing his hands like he wanted to erase the memory. Later, I texted him in the evening to check if he was okay. He replied, "Still can't eat. Just drinking tea." And that, my friend, is how what should have been a simple lunch turned into the most.
2 people, 1 sandwich, 1 unforgettable experience. Today we heard how to use past simple to tell what happened and past continuous to show what was going on around the action, the surroundings, the people, the mood. Challenge for you. Tell us a story from your life using past tenses. What happened? What were you doing before it happened? Email your story to englishtalktime@gmail.com and get a free worksheet with grammar and vocabulary from today's episode. Subscribe, like, and follow us for more real English stories every week. Until next time. This was English Talk Time. And remember, sometimes English gets real.